When it comes to daily race C, overtaking was almost impossible. So that's why PD actually decided to do something interesting. They decided to change the slipstream strength to custom. So instead of being normal and overtaking in the middle of the corner was almost impossible, and just if you got into half a second behind someone, it was just, I would say, impossible to catch someone and overtake. And I think just it made overall racing very, very difficult and almost impossible. I think this is a good change, this custom slipstream, but on the other hand, it brought some interesting problems with it. And that's, well, the races became much more chaotic. And so my first race with the custom slipstream started. Just to clarify what custom slipstream means, this means that on the straight you got the slipstream, so you actually got the toe, you're getting closer to the guy in front of you because he's braking the air, but in the corners you simply don't have any kind of dirty air, which again makes this racing much more, well, in general, much closer and more competitive. So now you can see that for the first couple of laps I decided to save tires. I see that Thunderous and Key decided to fight it out very early, and this means that their tires will most likely be worn out by the time we need to make it into the pit stop. Usually it's lap 5 or lap 6. So I just decided to take it easy, put the braking bias to +3, +4, and eventually don't slide into the corner, brake much earlier while they fight it out. In the end, I think this was quite a good strategy because not only I was saving tires, I was, well, in general more consistent and I wasn't risking too much. In general, I just decided to follow them, didn't really do too much. I just did brake a little bit earlier. Transition was much easier, and in the end I just wasn't pushing as much as they were pushing. And you can see most of the corners they were just going side by side, and we are already in lap 4 and this incident happened. At this point, I really didn't know what to do. I just decided to carry on because I didn't think this was my fault. So I carried on, I didn't lose too much time or too much speed, and now I decided to see if I can make it on the outside of 130R. And well, I kind of got it. We were going side by side. He left me just about enough space. Now under braking, a little bit of a contact, nothing too much, and the same thing happened in here. I don't think he realized that how much space he had on the right. Nothing too much, it's barely an incident, and now we're going once again into the first turn, but now I really don't have the speed. I just don't have the toe, I don't have the speed, and I'm on the outside of turn 1, which is usually not the place to be on. So Brent had a much better line than me, and he overtook and got that second place. I mean, move well done, it was really well timed, but I knew that he probably didn't have the tires as I did. My tires were, well, in my opinion, they were really saved, and I could have pushed a lot harder for the next lap, or maybe even lap and a half. Now just trying to follow the guys in front without making a mistake, so consistency was very important here, and I've seen a lot of people made mistakes and eventually just destroy their chances of getting a good result. Why? Because pushing too hard on this track usually does not end up well. But I said to myself, why not? Let's give it a try. Maybe on the outside of this hairpin, maybe it's gonna work. I know it's a very difficult move to make, but it gave me a very nice exit, and I was actually pulling away on the straight. So I had a little bit of a toe, the inside line, which once again turns out to be the outside line for the next turn, but I had better tires, more grip, I did brake later, and eventually got back into that second place. Now, just behind Key, and he goes slightly too wide, which compromises his exit on the straight. I'm in the toe, and once again, what will I try to do? Just try to hang it on the outside of 130R, which is usually not the smartest idea because going side by side here isn't the best solution. So he pushes me a little bit wide, then I decide to brake very late because I knew that I had much better grip than he does, and eventually with a bit of a contact I overtake him for that first place. This move was, well, in my opinion, very aggressive, but I think I gave it all. I did brake late, I had better tires, and then they pitted. They pitted in lap 5. I decided to stay out for a little bit longer just to save the tires because eventually in the last couple of laps I think I always have the grip to push more and eventually get the best possible position and the best possible result. Once again, better tires. I decided to push it a little bit harder in this stint without saving the tires too much because once again I pitted one lap later than them and tires were actually looking pretty good, and I was once again pretty good at tire saving in this race. And then I caught him, kind of middle of lap 8, and they were already fighting for that first place, which again means that they were losing a lot more time than they should. You can also see the lap times on the right. We were mostly in the 49s, sometimes even 50s. Usually on this track, in these conditions, it's about 47s to 48s. So just by battling this much, we were losing a ton of time, maybe even a second and a half per lap. This was also a very significant tire loss. Otherwise, we would just not be pushing that hard. So it was much harder on the tires. The tires are usually designed to stay for about 5 to 6 laps, nothing much more. And once again, just because I knew I had better tires, I decided once again to try it on the outside of the hairpin, which kind of seems to be my favorite overtaking spot. You will see actually later. So once again, following Brent into this corner, I decided to fake it a little bit, so he goes for the defensive move, and then I decided to once again send it just to see if he's got it, if he's got the grip to hold it. But unfortunately for him, he didn't have the grip, and I just had better tires at this point and made this move sticks. But now at this point, I had to actually defend this position from Thunderous because he was gaining on me, and a 10th is, well, a 10th is definitely a not safe place to be. So deciding to cover down the inside of this corner so he cannot go for the move on the outside, covering down, and eventually I got ahead of him, and once again we're in the fight for the first place. I usually stay on the right, not to waste too much time staying on the left side of the track as I cross the finish line, and in the next lap I cut up key. Once again decided to kind of send it, but not really sending it too much, just kind of faking my move. Third gear on the way out, I had a better exit, but then I realized that this was probably not the best overtaking spot, because once again, if we overshoot this corner, someone from behind might eventually take this place for me. I had a little hit and pushed me off the track, and I lost the grip and I lost that momentum that I had on the outside of that corner. And once again, I just wasn't in the slipstream, I wasn't carrying enough speed. It was a fight for the first place, but I was on the outside of Spoon, and this is usually not the place to be in. As you can see, everyone is pretty aggressive, and well, everyone is trying to fight for that position and trying to get on the podium. I know that I have better tires because they all pitted before me. But at the same time, I don't have the slipstream and I don't have the track position, and we are going into the last lap. So I just tried to see what can I do in here, maybe brake a little bit later than usual, and then it hit me. I hit the brakes a little bit too late. I got onto the grass and eventually spun into that last turn. Not a very brave move, but then in the last lap, just as I tried to recover, this happened. He got in the way. I think eventually he got across me, and well, he spun. I guess he spun himself because I was eventually on the outside of that corner and finishing this one in P5. As I said before, custom slipstream means that we are going to have very, very aggressive races. But in the next race, I decided to take it a bit easier. I decided to, well, save the tires a little bit more than in the previous race and see what can I actually do if I don't push it. Just about saving tires, just about staying in the slipstream, and just about not really pushing the hard to the limit and going for that optimal pace. And you can see in this corner, you can always see that I'm not pushing the wheel all the way up to the right. I'm always holding it at about 45 to 50, I would say even 50-degree angle, and just minimizing my speed through that corner. Of course, I'm losing a bit of time in that corner depending on how much speed, of course, I take into the corner, but then eventually later we'll have better tires and eventually win this race. So that was my strategy. I wasn't pushing it, I was just trying to see what I can do. We were doing 48s now, so you can see what kind of difference does it make when we are not fighting all the time. So 48s now, and I kind of decided to go for a move, but really didn't want to do it. I just wanted to maintain my position, and well, in the end, don't lose too much time. So my strategy was not losing too much time, kind of going on the outside, kind of faking my move just to see what he's going to do. Of course, he decided to defend the place. Once again, braking a lot earlier than he does. He's sliding always a little bit into that first corner. I'm not. I'm always trying to keep it in the third gear. Kind of subtle changes of direction, fourth gear. Always those higher gears, not turning the wheel more than I actually needed. And then I decided to once again, you know what, let's give it a try. Let's see what I can do on the outside of the hairpin. I know I got the better tires. I know I can eventually do it. Second gear, push it on the way out, use the full width of the track, and then carry that speed onto the straight. And you can see how much I gained there. There is so much more grip in my tires that eventually I decided to cover this position, but I can also brake much later than he does. And you now see the gap. Just look at the gap. So going 4/10, already it's 4/10 in one corner, and that's why, and that's exactly why you need to save the tires, just to win those situations and win those battles, and of course make a pretty good move, and of course, as I said before, bring it home and win the race. And after a couple of races, I actually realized that I was a little bit quicker than any of the other players around me. I was consistently winning by quite a margin, and this just got me thinking, is this all about tire saving, or did I actually miss something? And then it actually got to me. The conditions in the qualifying change. And the way I discovered this is that the Ghost was actually pulling away from me on the straight, and it was actually impossible to catch it. So at that point, I realized that I need to restart the session to get the best possible conditions, and this is actually how I got this lap. So it's a very good lap. I did a 46.136, and it's a provisional world record. Of course, I was aiming for the best possible conditions, but on top of that, it's a low 46, and I think it's going to stay for the end of the week. Well, what that got me to that provisional world record, and let's see how I've done it. It'll be an easy video tomorrow. Editing is much easier than this. .395 with a good angle. Not that great, but no way. And in the end, guys, thank you very much for watching this video, and if you liked it, please hit the like button, or you might even want to subscribe to the channel. And once again, thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, bye.